Good evening, everyone. We'd like to get our program underway here, and we welcome you to the 2013 Georgia College Athletics Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We have three wonderful people that we'll get a chance to bring into the Hall of Fame, and we appreciate your attendance with friends and family here tonight as well. Before we get started, I'd like to get a welcome from our new president of Georgia College, and that is Dr. Steve Dorman. Dr. Dorman.
Well, thank you all for being here. I'm pleased to welcome you to the 2013 Athletics Hall of Fame. I am the new president. I'm about 6 months old here, and so I'm experiencing this event for the first time tonight myself. I'd like to introduce you to my wife who is here. Jamie, would you please stand? We are also very pleased this evening to have the Chancellor of the University of Georgia System here with us and his wife, Amy. Chancellor Huckabee. Amy. Thank you all for being here with us this evening. We appreciate it. Well, this has been an exciting weekend for me. Jamie and I have experienced our first homecoming and alumni weekend here at Georgia College. We've had our share of rain, but it has been exciting to welcome all of the alumni back to campus. I actually met someone who graduated from Peabody High School in 1936 and graduated from Georgia College in 1940. Now I'll let you do the math on that. But that's, I think, the oldest graduate that I met this weekend. We celebrated the class of 1963 coming back to the university, so we've met some wonderful people from that era in that time in the university. So it's been a great weekend. And of course, we've just enjoyed the homecoming basketball game, and it was an exciting part of this weekend's activities. It was so good to see the students in there having fun. There's something special about that, about seeing the students cheering and having fun. And Janie and I have enjoyed both the women's and the men's basketball teams this season, along with soccer in the fall, and we're looking forward to volleyball next fall. So, and guess what? I got to crown a king and a queen tonight. Who gets to do that? I mean, that's pretty neat weekend altogether. Well, athletics is an important part of higher education today. It's an important part of youth development in general. And on campuses like ours that have a rich Division II athletic program, much is learned by our students on the field of competition. Athletics becomes a part of what is referred to as the other education, where students learn important lessons about themselves and about relating to others. Athletics can also provide a wonderful opportunity for our campus to engage with the community and vice versa. And we're thrilled to be able to welcome many community members to our campus and athletic events, and hope that our community will continue to support and cheer our students forward in all of their endeavors. Now, as an academician, I'm also here to tell you that I am pleased with the performance of our athletes in the classroom as well. The graduation rates of athletes here at Georgia College are some of the highest in our conference and in the USG system. For example, among athletes, we had a 79.5% completion rate over the last 2 years versus a 57% completion rate for our general student body. This is 22 points higher than the general student body. And this is typically seen in Division II campuses across the country. So we are extremely proud of the athletic program here, and we believe that our coaches and our athletes get it. They understand what we're trying to do here. We are trying to train the student athlete. I believe that Georgia College does athletics the right way. We get it right. And our inductees to the Hall of Fame this evening are proof of that. And another proof of that is found in our outstanding athletic director, Wendell Stagan. And I'm going to ask him to come to the podium at this time. He is the best, and I'm so glad that we have him here. I'm pleased to welcome him to you at this time. Wendell.
Thank you, Dr. Norman, and thanks everybody for being here. It's always nice just to watch people visit and reminisce, and it's a lot of fun. Thank you all for sharing this night for three very special people. One of the best parts about my job is it's a very humbling experience that I get to make the contact to tell folks that they were in the Hall of Fame. It's really, really neat. It's very humbling. It's very rewarding. And I want to just kind of tell you about that. I want to talk about each person briefly, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Scott. Louisa Vikakova, who was unable to be here tonight, and I know her sister, who was in our Hall of Fame. In fact, I'll share a point of pride that Louisa and Lilia, wait, everybody, okay, are the only siblings in the Georgia College Athletic Hall of Fame. It's quite neat. So congratulations on that. I'm going to go a step further. Her and her husband are the only spouse combination in the Hall of Fame, Alex and Michael. So let's give them a hand. And in fact, they went in on the same year and met at this ceremony and got married about a year later. So it's quite that's a true story. And, Louisa could not be here tonight. I'll let Louisa couldn't be here tonight. I'll let Lilia tell you about that when she comes up in a minute. But I did get the opportunity to call her, and I had actually met Louisa last year, about a year ago, and extremely appreciative of her experience as a student athlete here at Georgia College, and it was so nice to talk to her, and she was so gracious and so humbled by the fact that she had done this. And it's just a really neat experience, and this is being filmed, so Louisa, we welcome you to the Hall of Fame, and miss that you're not here, and your sister's going to do a great job for you tonight. Chris Carr, I called. I was on my way to our conference meetings, and I had a phone number, and I actually thought it was, I told him, I said, the phone number area code was, it's Georgia number, right? But his address said MA, and so I thought I was calling Georgia, but it was Massachusetts. And I got to tell you, that was one of the most meaningful calls. I never met Chris. I knew his coach, Steve Baroka, who's going to share some comments with you tonight. And boy, was he humble when I called him, and boy, was he thankful for the experience. It was very, very meaningful response that you gave me. And it was a thrill for me, and I told you that night or that day, it was a real thrill for me to make that call. So, and you talk about a guy that just said, I mean, I love Georgia College, I love everything about it, I had an unbelievable experience. It just went on and on and on. And he talked about his mom, who told me that she missed one weekend flying down from Massachusetts, and only because they had scheduled a cruise, I think a year in advance. So missed one weekend out of 2 years that he was here. And how special that was. So thank you. It's been a real treat to meet you guys tonight. Finally, I want to share a couple words about Stan. And I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege, and I'm going to tell you I'm going to get emotional when I talk about this. Many of you have heard me tell the story, and I'm going to tell you three things that Stan did for me that have really shaped my life, and I'll never forget it, and I hope I live it every day. The first one is, my wife Yvette's here tonight. I want you to wave to everybody. And 25 or 20 years ago, I was an assistant basketball coach, and I was down in my office, and Stan came down there and said, "What are you doing tonight?" And I said, "I'm going to Savannah or something like that, we're recruiting." And he said, "No, you're not." He said, "You're going to go home, and you got a pregnant, sick wife at home." And I said, "Well, I appreciate it, Stan." I said, "She understands. We're trying to win some ball games. That's why you hired us, and I got to go find us some players." And he said, "Well, go home or you're fired." And I knew he wasn't going to fire me. But my staff will tell you that I think we provide the most family-friendly atmosphere that you can find. And you can see by the evidence here tonight, our coaches and their children are here. And so he taught me that your family comes first. And I've been married 24 years this August. And it's because of that conversation. Probably had as much to do that with the balance that I try to keep in my life. We all struggle with that. But that shaped me in a way that it's hard for me to describe. The second thing is, we were down here, and my boss, we'd been here a year, we stayed 2 years, and we had very little success our first year. And I remember Stan told my boss, we were talking one day, and he said that, hey, we've never fired, Georgia College never fired a coach for winning or losing. And it's not going to happen on my watch. And so that takes a lot of courage to say that. Doesn't mean it doesn't want to win. We got one of the most successful athletic programs in the country. And we had a leader who said, I want to do it the right way and put the human side and academics and the total student athlete first, not winning first. That'll come. And I'm humbled that all I do is drive the ship. Every time I talk to people, I brag about our program. And I say, I can brag all I want because I didn't do any of this. It's all done because of Stan Aldridge. I said it every time I talk in public. And I'm telling you again that tonight. But that showed me that there's not a lot of people having the confidence to say that. But we did it the right way, and I hope that I'm continuing to try to do it the way that he showed me. And the last thing he showed me is how to exit properly. When I got here, he said to me, he said, well, Wendell, I'll be as involved or as uninvolved as you like. You let me know. And, a lot of times when the new preacher comes in, the old preacher's still in town, that can kind of be a tough thing to handle. And he showed me how to lead with class. And every time if I call him, I don't care what it is, about what, and I seek his counsel often. He's always there. And so I just thought that was hopefully one day I can be in that position and I can leave the next person and have them do that same thing. So he's really taught me how to put your family first, how to hire people and let them do their job and do the total balance. He taught me how to lead. And he's taught me how to lead in all those as well. And so I'm grateful for my own personal experience and professional experience and I appreciate you giving me the privilege to talk about this tonight. So Stan, you mean the world to me, you mean the world to everybody in this room, and thank you. So I'm going to turn it back over to Scott. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Wendell. And as a personal aside, it's always a pleasure to be here and help induct our members of the Hall of Fame. It's a privilege and an honor, and I thank you again for allowing me to do that. Step up and welcome our newest class in. So let's begin with our Hall of Fame inductees, and we begin with Ms. Louisa Biktiakova. And as Wendell mentioned, we now have a sister act in our Georgia College Athletics Hall of Fame. Joining her older sister Lilia as a Hall of Famer is Louisa Biktiakova. Louisa only played with the Georgia College women's tennis team for 2 years, from 2002 to 2004, after transferring from Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College, or ABAC, down in Tifton. But she certainly made the most of those 2 years count. Louisa was an Intercollegiate Tennis Association All-American in each of her 2 seasons. She made all Peach Belt Conference honors each year as well, and was part of the conference championship team in 2003. She was ITA Rolex Region Doubles Champion twice with 2 different partners, and in 2002 went to the national finals in doubles with her partner Mia Pavlainen. During her time at Georgia College, Louisa compiled a record of 38 and 15 in singles play, was 43 and 20 in doubles action. Perhaps the single most significant honor of her brief Georgia College career came in 2003. As a testament to her abilities as a complete student athlete, Louisa Biktiakova received the ITA National Arthur Ashe Leadership and Sportsmanship Award. It's named after the tennis great and humanitarian, and the Arthur Ashe Award recognizes outstanding individuals in all divisions at the regional and national level for their skills in leadership and sportsmanship. She is the only Georgia College recipient of the Arthur Ashe Award. Her coach, Steve Barsby, who continues, of course, to coach the tennis teams here at GC, says her demeanor on and off the court was like night and day. She was one of the most humble and quiet people off the court that he's ever seen, but she was an absolute bulldog on the court, a fierce competitor, and Barsby said Louisa was one of the most polite people he's ever known, and he couldn't pick on her. So she was unbelievably nice, and if you know Steve Barsby, it's very difficult for him not to pick on anybody. He added that Louisa was proud of her older sister, loved playing in a place where her sister starred as well. He said the run to the national doubles final really held no drama. Louisa and Mia just kept rolling right through and wound up national runners-up. As Wendell mentioned, Louisa can't be with us tonight. She is in her native Uzbekistan. She's currently coaching junior tennis players. And Barsby hopes she'll send him the next Viktiakova very soon. Here to induct her sister is four-time All-American and 2008 Athletics Hall of Fame inductee, Lilia Viktiakova McMichael.
Good evening. It's great to see many familiar faces again. It is my pleasure to accept this award on behalf of my sister, Louisa, who was unable to be at this event. It's pretty incredible to have another family member to be inducted into GC Hall of Fame. Our family is very proud of Louisa and her achievements. She asked me to share the message with you that I will read. Hello to all my friends in Milledgeville. I was so pleased and surprised to hear Mr. Wendell when he called to tell me that I have been selected to the Hall of Fame 2013 at Georgia College. I'm so honored and thrilled. I have played tennis since I was 7 years old. I've traveled around the world, but never thought I'd spend part of my life in the United States, which I'm truly grateful for. Playing college tennis and going to school, first at AVAC, then at Georgia College, were my most exciting and memorable years of my life. I decided to come to Georgia College for its great tennis and academic programs. I have known Steve Barsby and a few other people from the times when my sister played at Georgia College, so I followed her. I only have great memories associated with Georgia College in Milledgeville. We had a fantastic team. Thanks to Steve for bringing the team together and leading us through the seasons. We had tough competitions and played some great matches, but it felt so great when we were the semifinalists at the Team Nationals in Florida in the spring of 2003. Another highlight of my tennis career at Georgia College was when my doubles partner Mia and I played finals at the Nationals in Texas in the fall of 2002. The education I received and the tennis experience I gained while at Georgia College have given me other opportunities later on in my life, such as being a part of the prestigious hospitality company, the Ritz-Carlton in Moscow, and now working for one of the best tennis schools in Uzbekistan. I will be forever grateful for the opportunities and the experiences I had at Georgia College. It all would not happen without the enthusiasm of the team and the support of Georgia College's athletic department, professors, and great fans. I wish Georgia College continued success. I know many more great and smart and talented athletes will come and represent Georgia College. Thank you for all the memories, GC.
Thank you, Lillian. And we have a tradition here that I failed to incorporate at the start of our event tonight. If we have Hall of Fame members, and I see two of them right over there, we usually have them stand and be recognized by the rest of our crowd here. So if the McMichaels would please stand as our Hall of Fame members, and other Hall of Fame members as well. Congratulations, and we welcome you back to Georgia College. Moving on to our second induction, it's Chris Carr from Taunton, Massachusetts. Another athlete who made a huge impact on his program in just 2 short years. Chris Carr transferred into Georgia College from Massasoit Community College in his native Massachusetts. As the Bobcat first baseman, he played only 2 seasons in 2000 and 2001, was named All-Region and 3rd Team All-American both years. Chris added all Peach Belt Conference honors each year as well, and was the first Peach Belt Player of the Year in school history, and that coming his senior season in 2001. He led the conference in hitting that year at .415. His junior year, Carr topped the conference with 17 home runs. Chris also received the South Atlantic Region Position Player of the Year Award in 2001, and he is the only time, that a Bobcat has won a baseball Region Player of the Year honor. Despite having played just 2 years, Chris is 7th in school history in home runs with 32 and hit .395 for those 2 seasons. That's good for 4th all-time at GC. Chris still leads Georgia College baseball in slugging percentage at a .723 clip. That's an amazing 34 points ahead of fellow Hall of Famer Phil Art. Chris was also a very good first baseman, committing only 5 errors his senior season for a fielding percentage of .985. And I'm sure he'll also comment in a bit on his stolen bases, which were 10 in 18 attempts. Big guy, still can get down the base paths. My broadcasting partner and the sports information director at the time here at Georgia College, Brad Muller, laid the name of the Gazelle on Chris when he had an inside-the-park home run. And Chris's mom had Brad's cell phone number, so she heard, and we heard, his about that, shall we say. Her displeasure with that nickname very quickly. The Gazelle came to stick for a while. Chris and his teammates led GC to 80 wins in his 2 seasons. Both campaigns culminated in NCAA Division II regional tournament appearances at North Florida. The Cats came within 1 game of making the College World Series in 2000. His efforts helped the Bobcats under Coach Steve Baroka to finish tied for 6th in the country in 2000, 10th in the nation in 2001. His prowess at the plate is legendary, with a number of moonshots over the right field fence. There was no wall at the time, it was a fence at Kurtz Field. A blast that would rival the best of Babe Ruth. He even had the Bambinos follow through, which you can probably tell, and some would even say his appetite. Some would say also. Chris was one of the few players in my time of calling GC's games who created a buzz of excitement every time he stepped to the plate. Everyone, and I mean everyone at the field, stopped what they were doing because you knew something was going to happen, and usually it was something big. And now we have one final thrill from Chris, his entry into the Georgia College Athletics Hall of Fame. Chris had hoped to be inducted by his former coach, but Steve Baroka couldn't make it tonight. He did send along some comments, which I will pass along to you at this time. Hello everyone. Sorry I'm not able to attend this year's Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I wish I could be there to support and honor our 3 inductees. Congratulations to Stan, Louisa, and Chris as they enter the Georgia College Athletic Hall of Fame. What a great honor. Now it is my pleasure to introduce 2013 Hall of Fame inductee, Chris Carr. I was the head baseball coach at Georgia College from 1994 to 2004, and I was very fortunate to have Chris Carr on our team in 2000 and 2001. To simply state it, Chris Carr was the best hitter in the Peach Belt in both seasons, and he is one of the best players I've coached over my 23-year coaching career. When we recruited Chris out of Massasoit Community College in Brockton, Massachusetts, we really weren't sure how he would transition to the higher level of competition and life in the South. After a couple of weeks of fall ball practice, where he hit several balls over the light poles, discovered the Waffle House, and GC's favorable male-to-female ratio, it was clear he was ready to be a force in our lineup, and he loved Milledgeville. In both years, he was our best hitter, hitting 3rd or 4th in the lineup, played a very good first base, and was a team leader both on and off the field. He pretty much did everything for his teams except drive the team bus and pitch, which of course he always claimed he could be doing because in his words, I got nasty stuff. Our reply, really, you actually do think you're Babe Ruth. And for your information, he was right. He was a good pitcher. From all Peach Belt to All-American, Chris took home every postseason honor award. At the same time, he was an honor roll student athlete and graduated on time with a degree in education. Chris was the model Georgia College Bobcat student athlete and a pleasure to coach. In conclusion, I'm honored to introduce Chris Carr, a GC baseball icon and an awesome person. Chris?
Wow, this is going to be tough after that. Thank you, Scott. It was truly a pleasure to have played for the Bobcats and have a Hall of Famer behind the mic calling the games.
I still go back and listen to a few broadcasts that my mom taped to relive those days, and you and Brad were one heck of a team. I want to start by thanking Wendell Staten and Al Weston. Wendell called me back in December and left me some phony message about possibly coming to town for some alumni function. Little did I know that when I called him back, I would pretty much be in tears. This school, the baseball program in Milledgeville, will always hold a very special place in my heart. And him giving me the news that I'd be in the GC Hall of Fame was an emotional moment that I'll never forget. And Al, I must have sent him 100 texts and Facebook messages asking question after question, and probably the same question multiple times, because I wanted to be prepared for this weekend. But he was very patient with me, and I'm very thankful I had Al to help me out. There are hundreds of people I would like to thank tonight, but I'd be remiss if I didn't start with my parents. As a college athlete, you're not really allowed to have an agent. Well, I do, and her name is Mom. Since I can remember, she has been at every game. She has been everything I've ever done. And for those of you who may not seen me play, you know she was always there to give me those hitting tips I needed when I went 0 for 4 in a game. Brad Muller and Scott McLeod, our radio guys, will attest that she was pretty much at every single weekend game I played for 2 years. And in high school, when nobody else really believed in me, she did. And I would have never made it to Milledgeville without her love and support and the confidence she gave me that I could play anywhere I wanted to if I put my mind to it. And my dad, a police officer for 33 years now, worked his butt off so that I could go to a private high school where I wanted to go. And when I did get to college, I had every single tool necessary so that I could succeed. I learned to love the game, going to his softball games when I was a little boy, playing catch, swinging the bat. Thank you, Mom and Dad. I was and I am the luckiest kid on the face of the earth. As far as my playing days go, I owe most of my success to Coach Steve Maroka. He is by far the best coach I've ever played for, and I've played for some great coaches. Coach turned me from a slow-footed slap hitter into a 5'2" speed demon who Brad Muller once referred to, and he gave it away now as the Gazelle. No, really though, Coach taught me to be a really good first baseman, how to steal a base, and how to hit for power while still not striking out. These 3 things launched me from a good ball player to a Hall of Famer. There are so many great Maroka stories, but for time purposes I will just share one. In fall of my junior year, I had just finished fall practice and intra-squad games. He called me into his office for our personal meetings that my good friend Hal Jackson, I'm sure he had one as well. He's here tonight. And he said to me, Chris, how's the fall been going? How do you like Georgia College? I'm like, I was feeling pretty good about myself. Good, Coach, good. And he said, what do you think you hit this fall in our inter-squad games? And I said, I don't know, 300, 350? He's like, 375, good job. He goes, how many home runs do you have? I said, I think 1. He said, 1! He goes, you think I brought you down here to get 1 home run? He said to me, I don't care if you have 0 strikes, 1 strike, 2 strikes. You swing as hard as you can every single time you're at the plate. And he used some words I really can't use tonight. And he said, you better swing as hard as you can every single time, or you'll be out here on a Greyhound bus. And because of those words, maybe I am where I am today. I would also like to thank coaches Don Norris and Mike Vees, who always gave me the confidence while Coach Maroka was breaking me down. I was truly blessed to play in a top 10 nationally ranked team for 2 years. I played with so many great pitchers and positional players that became like family to me. Guys that tried to knock the Boston out of me and turn me into a redneck. Pitchers like Mark Smith, Steve Pacheco, Armando Aversa, Mike Joyce, Chad Starling, Brian Clark, Will Anderson, and Carson Wiggins, and guys who protected me in the lineup and always had my back on the field like Jason Samples, Ryan Avery, Craig Puckett, Brand Mills, Gary Harris, Alfredo Lugo, Hal Jackson, Bo Edwards, and J.P. Sonja. Along with my other teammates who helped us reach team goals that nobody thought we could, and helped me personally reach heights that coaches from my area said I would never come close to. Team things like winning 22 games in a row, which by the way, now that I think about it, is pretty crazy, especially when you think about the talent down here and how many kids play ball year round. To win 22 games in a row, I still think about that a lot. Making back-to-back regionals and coming 1 game short of the World Series. and being ranked in the top 5 nationally many times. And personal achievements like helping me become a 3-time Peach Belt Player of the Week, a 2-time South Atlantic Region Player, a 2-time All-Peach Belt Player, 2000 All-South Atlantic Tourney Player, and a 2-time NCAA All-American, and the 2001 Georgia Dugout Club Player of the Year, and the baseball program's lone South Atlantic Region Player of the Year in 2001. It wasn't until I sat down to write this that the scope of what I had done in 2 years really hit me. And I had my coaches and teammates to thank for that. And honestly, that's what I really miss about college baseball. Not personal achievements or putting up stats or winning percentages, but the relationships with your teammates. The bus rides, the locker room chatter, the laughing in the calf or the weight room. Getting the opportunity to battle every day with people that become so important, that become your family for 4 years, or in my case here for 2. I guess that's my only real regret, is that I didn't find this little lovable place 2 years earlier, so I could have spent 4 years here. In closing, my biggest thank you is to GC. Because of this great institution, I get to do what I love every single day, which is teach sports. I took my degree from Georgia College in physical education and put it to good use, as I am now in my 9th year of teaching and have coached 11 seasons between basketball and baseball. I love sports and the lessons it teaches us. And thanks to Georgia College has become my life, and for that I'll be forever thankful. And to all my fellow GC athletes in the room, don't ever let someone tell you that you can't do something or that you're not good enough. A local Division III coach back home when I was a senior in high school told my dad that I could never play at that school. That's something I will never forget. Whenever there's a challenge facing you, a game that seems unwinnable, or a test that seems unpassable, think back to all the people that told you you weren't good enough. As an athlete or a student, prove them wrong. There is no greater motivation in the world than someone telling you you can't. One of the smartest guys I know always said, winning isn't the most important thing, wanting to is. Try to always want it more. Congratulations to my fellow inductees tonight, and go Bobcats.
Thank you, Chris. Congratulations. And we move on to our final inductee. Whoever created the phrase, "actions speak louder than words," had Stan Ulrich in mind. Stan, although a fine speaker in his own right, always got things done for Georgia College, more often than not with his own hands. Stan had 2 distinct careers with Georgia College athletics, first as a coach and then as an administrator. His coaching tenure began in the 74-75 basketball season when he came on 6 games into the campaign to guide the Colonials. He would head up the program through the 1985-86 season, gaining 130 wins in 12 seasons. He was named GIAC Coach of the Year twice. He also coached slow pitch softball, golf, even tennis, and then after shifting into administration as an assistant to Director of Athletics, Mike Peeler. And after the untimely death of Dr. Peeler in December of 1990, Stan took over as interim Director of Athletics, guiding the department through what was then a dark time. He was rewarded, if that's the right term, with a full-time position in June of 1993 and held the rudder for Georgia College athletics until his retirement in 2008. Although Stan will be the first to say he had a lot of help, here are just a few of the accomplishments that I can remember over 25 years. I'm sure there's more, but here are some of the accomplishments of GC athletics under his tenure. The move from the NAIA to NCAA Division II. Stan did that. The move to the Peach Belt Conference. Stan did that. The athletic auction that raises tens of thousands of dollars each year for Georgia College athletics. Stan did that. Another fundraiser, the GC Golf Tournament. Stan did that. The GISA State Basketball Championships at the Centennial Center. Stan did that. The softball and soccer fields at the Peeler Complex. Stan did that. This Georgia College Athletics Hall of Fame. Stan did that. Lights at Kurtz Field into the softball field. Stan did that. This Bobcat lapel pin. Stan did that too. Needs big or small, Stan Aldridge found a way to get the job done. And Georgia College athletics will be forever in his debt. And beside him all the way was his wonderful wife, Wanda, who also is tirelessly involved with Georgia College athletics at the ground floor, helping out wherever and whenever she could. Wanda, we thank you too. And thanks to Scott and Lee and their families, who missed a lot of time with their dad. Ladies and gentlemen, after 33 years as a Colonial and as a Bobcat, we welcome Stan Aldridge to the Georgia College Athletics Hall of Fame. At this time, to induct Stan, would you please welcome one of his former players, Alvin Richardson.
First of all, I said, you know, Coach, how long do I need to take? He said, oh, 4 or 5 minutes. And I knew then he didn't want me to come up here and tell a bunch of stories on it. So now that I've got the podium, you know, y'all are at my mercy, I guess, for as long as I want to be up here or until you get ready to leave. I can tell a lot of different things. But the truth of the matter is, you know, Coach Aldridge came here about the same time that I did in the mid-70s. And I can't imagine what he thought when he came up to the top of that practice gym for the first time and saw a little bitty skinny point guard with legs about that big around sticking out of those tight uniforms. And then the rest of these guys at this table back here, most of his first team, or a good part of his first team, is present tonight. I bet he wondered what in the heck he done got himself into. But it turned out okay. You know, by the end of his first full year, one of the things that Coach had already done, in addition to many of the things Mr. McLeod has mentioned to you, Coach Aldridge took that little band of ruffians and we won the conference tournament for the first time in school history. That was kind of one of the highlights that he and I have talked about. The other one, of course, was many of the things that Mr. McLeod alluded to, and that was bringing Georgia College from really ground zero to one of the premier Division II schools in the country, whether you're talking about facilities or success of the programs. So those things are certainly all well documented. I will say this, I hope he didn't think that I was going to come up here and just blow pretty smoke and perfume all over him the whole time, because I'm not going to do that. He's had enough of that already. So I think we need to get down to the more serious aspects of this. That said, Coach was a lot of things, but he had some shortcomings. He really did. And, you know, my daddy taught me to be honest. Coach taught me to be honest. You know, I need to at least tell you a few of these things. One of the things that comes to my mind as far as shortcomings are concerned would be, one of the things that I really think about a lot was he had some strange practice mechanisms that we would go by sometimes. For example, we went to Rome one weekend. A lot of times we would play Shorter and Berry on consecutive nights. We'd go to Rome and stay overnight. And we had played one of the two on Friday night. I don't remember which one. And we had resoundingly lost. And Coach Aldridge was, you know, he was mad at us. He was upset at us. And, you know, let's just kind of put it lightly. So at 8 o'clock the next morning, Saturday morning, with a ball game that night, we found ourselves in some little hick gym in Rome practicing. And what we were doing was, for 3 hours, we got over picks. If you're not a basketball person, getting over a pick is when you're playing man-to-man defense and the other guy's trying to knock you off the person on offense. Well, we weren't getting over the picks right. So for 3 hours, we got over picks and then had to play a ball game just a few hours later. Well, I was still dazed and confused. I mean, we'd been practicing all morning. I was tired. All I could think about was getting over picks. And by the time we got in the ball game, we were on offense. I was still getting over picks, and we were on the wrong end of the court. I mean, you know, he drilled it into us, but, you know, it's just a strange way of going about practice. Another thing that I thought he was really had a weakness with was scheduling. One year we went to Tampa, Florida. We made a little Florida swing, went to Tampa, Florida, and played a team in that vicinity. That's kind of Rob's hometown area. I think it was Eckerd or Clearwater Christian, or maybe we played both of them while we were down there. But anyway, we played, and right after that ball game, we got on our little bus, Bluebird bus. It was a really nice bus. It had hard seats, a motor that would, I mean, you'd scoot along 30 or 40 miles an hour if you really worked on that thing. We got on that big Bluebird, went by the McDonald's. They threw the little bags in the windows. We got, you know, you get what you get. And, if, you know, unless Rob stole one, you stole yours, you know. So we had, you know, had a nice supper after the ball game. And we struck out for Pensacola, Florida, which was 10 hours away. And we had to play the next evening. This was midnight, you know, and, you know, we had a good meal. It's McDonald's, you know, it's really good stuff. So we strike out for Pensacola, 10 hours. I slept in the floorboard in the aisle of that bus. And, you know, it was the best seat in the house. Really, the only bad part was Scott was with us. Scott and Wanda were with us, Scott's son. Scott was about this tall. And about every 15 minutes, he'd get hungry. And he'd say, milk, milk, milk. And I would have dozed off. I had dozed off in the floor, you know. The hum of the motor was really, you know, it kept me where I could go to sleep. Gave me a little peace. And then, milk, milk, milk. And this went on for a little while, you know. I mean, I don't know where we were. We were somewhere in the Panhandle. And finally, somebody in the back said, Coach Wanda, please give that boy some milk. So we got to Pensacola, you know, and we were fresh. We were really fresh. Played West Florida and got beat by about 40. We gave our gas in the second half. But, you know, scheduling. Just wasn't that good at it. I can give you one more specific about that. About a year after he got here, for some reason, he scheduled the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. You know, we were going to play up in Charlotte in one of the big coliseums, you know. Not the University of North Carolina, but the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And I guess he didn't know that they were really pretty good. They had a guy, if you're a basketball fan and you're as old as I am, you'll know what I'm talking about. They had a guy whose name was Cedric, nickname was Cornbread Maxwell. He was about 6'8", and a couple of years after they got through beating us like a tied-up goat, he got drafted by the Boston Celtics in the NBA and won 4 or 5 championship rings. Probably one of the best sixth men in history. But Cedric Cornbread Maxwell was on that team. 2 other guys off that team got drafted in the NBA. We were at that point in time, not Division II, we were NAIA. And UNCC was headed to the Final Four that year. We didn't know it. They didn't really know it. But we found out. the hard way. There were 10,000 people in that place, and I had never played in front of more than 200 or 300. So that was one thing. Don probably had to wind up guarding Cornbread for a while, and then he dumped him off on me because he kept dunking on Don. So Coach gave him to me, and he kept dunking on me, and Coach is over there screaming in the huddle, "Al, will you keep that guy out of the lane and quit driving the ball on you?" Cornbread was 6'8", you know, he had arms as long as that table right there. He had blocked every shot that anybody had taken within 15 feet of the basket. And he was driving and dunking and just putting on a show. Coach said, you got to keep him out of the lane. You got to stop him. So, the next time he went up, I tackled him by his ankles, which was the only thing I could reach. His ankles were here, and I grabbed him and tackled him. And he put 5 stitches in my head for my trouble. And it wound up, 125 to 62. So all I can say is I hope we got a good check out of that, because scheduling Coach just wasn't very good at it. I want to make sure I don't skip anything here that I have written down, because it was a lot of fun. And these guys back here that are with me tonight, and with all of us tonight, played a big role in that. But it was a time in my life that I will never forget. I will never forget those gentlemen. I'll never forget Coach Aldridge, his family, all the things that we went through, all the fun that we had, all the things that we learned. Coach Aldridge made a huge impact on my life. And I can only surmise that he made a huge impact on the lives of many, many other players and other people that he came in contact with over the years. He stood for integrity, as all of y'all know. He is the walking definition of integrity and humility. He didn't mind rolling his sleeves up and going to work, and he taught us the same thing. He's like another father figure to many of us. And as I said earlier, I don't know that I have ever had a greater honor than to be able to give you and introduce to you our next Hall of Fame inductee for Georgia College for 2013. Your own Dr. Stan Aldridge and my coach.
My parents and family have tried to teach me a few things. Some of those are to say please when it's appropriate, to say thank you when it's appropriate, to speak up when you need to, and learn to sit down and shut up when you need to. You probably are looking forward to the latter, which I sometimes have a hard time. I will say thank you to Alvin, whether I really need to or not. I'm not sure, but thank you, Alvin. And I did ask Alvin to do my introduction, because Alvin is one of those people that I always preach to everybody, coaches and players, that we wanted to win championships with good people and good students. And that's exactly why Alvin was up here. I'd like to say thank you to some other people. Scott mentioned my wife, Wanda, and she's been involved in everything I've ever done professionally and personally, and raised a family that we're fortunate to have here. When I decided to retire, I told a few people that, and they all just went, okay, as long as Wanda stays. She did most of the work anyway. I would like to introduce my family, and I'll ask them to stand. Wanda, would you stand? We've got a bunch of them, so you can hold the applause to the end if you'd like. My daughter, Lee Fulford, her husband, John, daughter, Sarah Grace, son, Jay. Over at this table, my son, Scott, who's already been referred to as Milk, Milk, Milk. His wife, Jennifer, Justin, Grayson, and the boss of the family, Asher. I think he's gone. All right. I'd like to thank Bruce Hartford for being a great boss. Bruce advised me when it was appropriate. He criticized me rarely, but occasionally did. Not nearly as much as Alvin did. Supported me always, and was, most of all, allowed me to do my job, which some bosses don't do. And Bruce, I appreciate that. I also would like to thank Georgia College for allowing me to be part of what I think was transition to excellence. When I came to Georgia College had been a women's college with a good academic reputation, but because of dwindling enrollment, hadn't had a lot of anything for a long time, hadn't had any new buildings, it hadn't had much budget. They had just admitted men as an experiment to see if they were basically going to keep the university open. It had worked. The enrollment had started to go up, but during the time that all this was happening, as I understand it, there wasn't much coming to Georgia College in the way of buildings or facilities or anything else. So we had an opportunity to inherit a program and be a part of a university or a college at the time where there wasn't much there except the academic reputation. And not only that, we were starting a men and women's basketball program that had been just started before I came, in an era when the NCAA and NAIA didn't even recognize women's athletics. They didn't acknowledge that there was any such thing there. So we're trying to do all these things with crumbling buildings and not much budget. So I think those of us who were here, and that included a lot of people that had a big part of turning the athletic program around. Within a few years, we hired John Kurtz, who is in the Hall of Fame as a baseball coach, hired John Carrick, who built our women's basketball program. We hired Mike Peeler, who's the best guy I've ever had an opportunity to work for in athletics. And we joined Gates Martini, who somehow manipulated a group of kids into a nationally competitive gymnastics team that nobody else in any of the other sports had been able to do. But because of lack of facilities and lack of money, we had to adopt a philosophy of two great Americans. The first was Larry the Cable Guy. He coined the term, get her done. And that's basically all we had to do. It was hard work, get it done, find people that nobody else wanted, convince them, and convince ourselves sometimes that those people actually could do the job. And in a few years, we tended to make that pay off. Not only did we adopt that philosophy, the second person that I left it out, it is a legitimate one, it's Jimmy Valbon. When he coined the phrase, don't ever give up, don't ever give up, that's exactly what we had to do. We had to keep pressing when times were tough and the budget was lean. Alvin talked about some of those things. Yes, we did go. We abused ourselves for money sometimes in order to be able to run our program and recruit a few players. We started to turn it around. Mike came and he was an athletics director, but when he became athletics director, he had basically that same philosophy. He said it a little better than I did. He didn't say get her done. He basically said, I don't want to hear you guys fuss about what you don't have, what Columbus has, what Kennesaw has. I want you to sell what we've got, which at that time was beginning to be some competitive programs and a good academic reputation. And he said, I'll try to take care of the rest. I'll work on building budgets, I'll work on getting facilities, and we'll do the best we can. I think all of those people I named earlier and a lot of other people did accomplish some things and start to turn the programs around. Mike worked hand in hand with Dr. Spear to get the Centennial Center, which became a state-of-the-art facility, and led us to the point that we did have facilities that we could compete with other people. And then in the early 80s and 90s, Wendell talked about some of these things, but we went through major changes. We went from the NAIA to the NCAA, and if you talk to any administrator who's done that, that's quite a task. It's difficult. You got to abide by both sets of rules for a period of time. We started the Peach Belt Conference, and I didn't do it all, but Mike got it started, and I had a chance to see it through. And in the midst of all this, as somebody said earlier, unfortunately, Mike had a major heart attack and didn't survive. When I took over as athletics director, and as I've said, Mike was one of the best people I've ever worked for. The first thing I said to our staff, and I think John can attest to this, is that Mike Peeler was a great man and a great leader. But I can't sit back and think, what the heck would Mike have done? And a lot of things he did, and he kept them in his head, and there wasn't any record of them, and if you had a question, you couldn't pick up the phone and call. But I had to do what I felt was right, and I hope it worked out. Well, we made it through the late 80s and early 90s. Our programs were beginning to be successful. We were competitive in the Peach Belt. And in walks this crazy woman with a lot of strange ideas, Rosemary DePaula. And I say this, she had the same ideas, the same philosophy that we did to get her done. She was much too politically correct to say it that way. Hers was always think outside the box. And she started talking about increasing academic standards and limiting enrollment. And we're sitting there thinking, you know, our budgets are based on enrollment. We increase academic standards, we're going to lose enrollment. We aren't going to have this, we aren't going to have that. And I was thinking, you know, man, in 25 years, this will be a real good idea. But I could see us shrinking to 2,000 or 2,500 students and losing budgets. But she was one of the most dynamic people I've ever met. She came over, she sat down with me and the coaching staff, and in about 2 hours, she had convinced most of us that that was the right direction to take, that we could win, and we could win with students that, without some of the students that couldn't get in, and that it would open new doors and recruit new people for us if we worked together to make it work. She and Harry Kind had this crazy idea of going out and selling $100 million worth of bonds to rebuild all of our facilities, all of our housing facilities. Along with a lot of other people, it happened. You know, suddenly instead of crumbling buildings and no place to recruit people that would have a comfortable environment to live in, we got the most lush and new buildings of anybody in the system. She did a great job working with the university system to get new buildings, new facilities. And so we could make it work. She said, think outside the box. We coerced somebody, you know, one of my friends at the University of Georgia, to give us the names of people that they haven't admitted that had SAT scores that would raise our academic level. And as soon as we got those, at the same day they got their rejection from Georgia, they got a personalized letter from Georgia College saying, hey, we're here, we're raising our standards, we're going to be the next great academic university. Well, about 11,000 of those went out for 3 years. And for 3 years, Steve Baroka and his baseball team went over and stuffed 11,000 letters, folded and stuffed them in the envelopes. And so together, it wasn't just athletics helping those people, it was them helping us, and everybody on campus seemed to be working together to make it work. So instead of having what I thought was going to go to 2,000 students, we never lost enrollment. We raised our academic standards drastically, and never once did we lose any enrollment. I think we also, with that, started the Gwinnett connection, with getting people from Gwinnett County. And it's just mushroomed into the point that now Georgia College can close admission in the early part of the spring. And we do have quality and I'll still say we because I still want to be part of the things that are going on. We convince coaches, I think, that you can win championships with good people who are good athletes, and you don't have to take people that don't have the ability to get through school. Somehow, and I mean a lot of other people more so than me, made this transition to excellent work. No money, no facilities, crumbling buildings, to outstanding teams, new buildings, excellent facilities, great students. And I just want to thank Georgia College for allowing me to be part of it, but we need to keep it going. Thank you.
We'll go off script here for just a second and actually ask Stan to come back up here. And Gay and Debbie, would you come up here, please? I'm embarrassing, I apologize, but I appreciate you doing it, okay? I called Gay McMichael, Gay and Debbie here, 80 and 82 graduates, and Stan had a great influence on him as he did many folks. And I called Gay and I said, Gay, if anybody needs an endowed scholarship, it's Stan Aldridge. And before the phone hung up, he said, well, hold on, I'll call one other guy, Jim Myers, you're not here tonight, you planned to be here. Both wrote the checks and it was done. I sent out a message to everybody. I said, hey, if anybody wants to contribute, many of you in this room have, and I'm grateful for that, to add to this. But Gay and Debbie and Jim and Melissa endowed it on day one, and everything we do adds to that, so that in perpetuity, the Stan Aldridge Endowed Scholarship will provide an educational opportunity for student athletes at Georgia College. So I want to thank you guys, I want to thank you guys, and I want to stand up and congratulate that we are going to present now the Stan Aldridge Endowed Scholarship on behalf of Gay, and Jim, Debbie, Melissa, and all of you. Thank you for making that happen.